Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in. We have some great news. And the great news, of course, is that Rick Scott has won. He's finally won. He has won, ladies and gentlemen. It's no longer up for debate. There are no more recounts. Bill Nelson will not get his 5,000th recount. Democrats have changed the term recount, or the definition of the word, into let's redo the election until we win. Let's just continue to redo the election until we win. That's pretty much what's taken place. So he had a 57,000 vote lead. Bud Drake. He had a 57,000 vote lead after Election Day. And that wasn't enough. Don't you understand? That wasn't enough. So that 57,000 vote lead dwindled down to 35,000, then to 15,000. And then down to what? Almost 13,000, 12,600. So we finally have a 52 to 47 lead in the Senate. 52 to 47. So let's say you have one Jeff Flake for Amy Coney Barrett. Let's say Trump picks Amy Coney Barrett, and then a protester gets into his or her elevator like Flake. Like, in my elevator, what am I going to do? What am I going to... Press down, Jeff. It's not difficult. By the way, to my super chat, thank you so very, very much. You give me every incentive to rock these live streams. So let's say Amy Coney Barrett is the next Supreme Court nominee. 52 to 47. Let's say there's one Jeff Flake who's like, I'm not going to vote for her because MSNBC told me not to. Then it goes to 51-48. Then another Jeff Flake, 50 to 49. Then you would need another Jeff Flake to flip 49 to 50. So you would need 3 Jeff Flakes. Ain't going to happen. And then with 53, because Mississippi's coming up, you would need 4 Jeff Flakes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we finally have a winner. Rick Scott finally won. Let's read this Fox News article. First of all, what did Trump tweet out? So, Tales from the Crypt, Bill Nelson finally conceded. Donald Trump, from day one, Rick Scott never wavered. He was a great governor and will be an even greater senator in representing the people of Florida. Congratulations to Rick. Congratulations to Rick on having waged such a courageous and successful campaign. So that's good. And then it was hilarious. Before that, he goes, so funny to see little Adam, and he spelled his name wrong. Bandini, talking about the fact that acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker was not approved by the Senate, but not mentioning the fact that Bob Mueller, who was highly conflicted, was not approved by the Senate. Exactly. Bob Mueller was approved by one person, Rod Rosenstein. And then they say, oh, well, he was approved by the Senate. It really doesn't matter. Andrew McCarthy in the National Review stated that this is an interim attorney general, and based on the Vacancies Act, he doesn't have to be approved by the Senate. And he has about 200 days to indict Clinton and do everything James Comey should have done or Loretta Lynch should have done. But we'll wait to see if President Trump really wants to drain the swamp, or if he wants to allow Hillary Clinton to destroy or try to destroy his life and his family's life every single day of their lives from now until eternity. This is Fox News, right here. Bill Nelson concedes. Yes, finally. Florida Senate race. In an alternate universe, Bill Nelson is still recounting votes. So this is the quantum physics. Bill Nelson is still recounting votes. Bill Nelson concedes Florida Senate race to Rick Scott after manual recount. Florida's longtime Democratic Senator Bill Nelson conceded to Republican challenger Governor Rick Scott Sunday, drawing the hotly contested race to represent the Sunshine State to a close after 12 days of legal wrangling. That's 12 days of fundraising for Bill Nelson. What do you think happens to all that money that goes to Nelson's campaign? Can you say he pockets the money? Where do you think it goes? Where do you think it goes? Oh, it goes to the Florida Democratic Party. Oh, okay. And back to Bill Nelson and Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the form of favors and media coverage. It is a machine and a racket. We all know this. We all know this. Gabbers! What happened in Orange County? Kim concedes last night after winning on election night. Now all of Orange County is blue. Very concerned for 2020. The midterms are part of their final trial. Yeah, I was taken aback by that because I know people in Orange County, and you're talking about. This is why I say, ladies and gentlemen, the nonstop. I mean, you had Dana Rohrabacher, but he it was all close. It was all close. And it happened. I mean, all of these seats were lost after Election Day. All of these seats were lost after Election Day. So I find it very, very difficult to see how 2020. Well, 2020, look, California is going to go blue no matter what. So in terms of electoral college votes, he needs to win Ohio, Florida. He needs to win Pennsylvania. He needs to win Wisconsin. Michigan, Ohio, and Florida. If he wins those, he can win. He'll win the. He needs to win the swing states in the Rust Belt. So Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. He doesn't have to win California, but that threw me for a loop. Also, I underestimated the amount of fabricated hate. There's an immense voter fraud also. So, I mean, you're talking about seats that are won after Election Day, seats that are so close. And here's the thing. They talk about a blue wave, but if it was a blue wave, why are all these seats being won days after the election? And why was the media completely silent about a blue wave? That emboldened me. That was like, oh, okay, well, the media's silent. And Nate Silver of 538 a couple of days before, was like, oh yeah, anything could happen. Anything's, there's a great likelihood that there is no blue wave, that the Republicans keep the House. So everyone was backtracking. And we gained in the Senate. We could have gained more in the Senate. I think that strategically, Gabbers, and I did a video on Nikki Haley, and like most of the comments were like, we hate Nikki Haley. I mean, my rebuttal is, you think that Mike Pence is that much more loyal? I mean, I think he's loyal, but you think that Mike Pence is the antithesis in terms of personality of Trump. They probably get along great, but the New York Times article probably was just, absurd stuff, the usual gossip. But there was one issue. That made sense. Going into 2020 with a female vice president is a good thing, because it's not Sarah Palin this time. It's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is extremely, extremely intelligent. Now people don't like Nikki Haley. Oh, we don't like Nikki Haley. It doesn't matter. Just win. I mean, isn't the point to win? Oh, she's deep state. Well, what about Mike Pence? He's not deep state. I don't know. But Orange County, yeah, it threw me for a loop. Also, you're going to have to, Gabbers, the Democrats are going to have to run on. They're going to have to run on gun control and not Medicare for all. They were elected. Here's the thing. Oh, I don't know if Pence is deep state. What is it like? What's the how is he not deep state? What did he do to show that he's not? Just because he doesn't fit within a framework of what we think? What did Nikki Haley do to say to prove that she's this deep state pawn? Nothing. She well, then that's actually great if that's the case. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think that 2020 Trump needs to shake things up because it's a wake-up call. If people don't see it as a wake-up call, it's fine. But Adam Bomb 31458, someone needs to really fight voter fraud in a place like California. Certainly DeSantis needs to clean up Florida with Bonnie's help. Arizona as well. Yeah, there's no way that Republicans should have lost Arizona. So that's something that, and it's not, there's no democratic shift there to where, because even Latinos in Arizona are conservative. Latinos in Texas, many of whom are conservative. 30% of Latinos are moving towards the Republican Party. Close to 30% of Latinos voted for Trump. So I underestimated the level of media influence. And California is just a bastion of like brainwashed voters who just take MSNBC and CNN. They look at these media companies and everything they spew as the Bible. Oh my God, Trump did this, Trump did that, Trump did this. And it's just, it never ends. It never ends. So they couldn't cheat Florida. But Trump is okay. I mean, in 2020, I believe he's going to win, but I think it would probably be good to learn something from the House. The Senate, first time in 105 years that an incoming president kept the Senate when he should have lost the Senate. But Bill Nelson officially concedes. And that's a good thing. Finally. Let me read this. According to the Florida Secretary of State, Scott led Nelson by approximately 10,000 votes. So it went from 57,000 votes to 10,000 votes after the state's 67 counties completed machine and manual recounts. So that's just bizarre. How you can lose 47,000 votes. That's bizarre how Bill Nelson could just gain 47,000 votes. And what if the tables were turned? Because that was like neck and neck. What if the tables were turned? Media would be all over the place. Nelson, who served 3 terms in the U.S. Senate, met his match in Scott, who launched a competitive campaign for Florida's votes. Scott, a two-term governor of the state, said Nelson called him to graciously concede, and that Scott, in turn, thanked Nelson for his years of service. Scott has now won narrow victories in 3 statewide races since 2010. Now, when I was on the left, when I loved Bernie Sanders, or when I was supporting Bernie Sanders, I don't now. Even if he runs, even if he wins, I'm still going to vote for Trump. In 2020, this is the guy that you should emulate, not Bernie Sanders when it comes to elections. Bernie gets cheated, and he then works to revive and resuscitate a collapsing Democratic Party. They win the House because of Bernie Sanders and Medicare for all and lofty ideals, and now they're going to gun control. It's the antithesis of what they were campaigning on. The West. Get HA. Thank you, the West. Thank you, the West. Thank you. Tammy Eaton. Actually, we're 53 because of Missouri, North Dakota, and Florida. Is it 53, 47? I thought it would be 53 with that'd be 53 with the special election coming up. Let's see. Let's see. New York Senate. New York Times Senate results. I love this. They still haven't updated the New York Times. So great. They still Real Clear Politics. Let's do Real Clear Politics. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. Are you serious? What's going on here? So from what I remember, it's 52, but let's see. That's still very, very good. You're not going to cheat, or you're not going to pull another Kavanaugh. You're not going to pull another Kavanaugh, which is good. They won't be able to pull another Kavanaugh. It'll be impossible for them to pull another Kavanaugh. So, absolutely impossible. So that's a good thing. Marcus Gilson. Clinton Foundation indictments were unsealed. Well, it's 52, favored to win Mississippi. Yes, Sarah, thank you. Which would make it 53. Absolutely, that's it. You're right. So, Marcus, I can only wait and hope and pray that Trump does the right thing. I think that Matthew Whitaker is the closest we've been, the absolute closest we've been. The absolute closest we've been to Clinton indictments, and I believe they will, and I'm saying they will happen. So, let's see. I meant get him, HA. Fat finger. Thank you, the West. Thank you. Thank you. So let's continue with this. So now the campaign truly is behind us. And that, so yeah, my point was they're not going to go after Medicare for all. They're going to have 2 years. If after 2 years they don't push a Medicare for all bill, they will not go into 2020 with the momentum they had for the House. If they don't go into 2020 with the momentum they had for the House, they're done. If they go into 2020 with basically civil unrest within the Democratic Party, where the 2 factions or 3 factions, the I'm with her crowd is going to see an even stronger attempt by the progressive wing to unseat them or to force them to relinquish power. Again, the progressive crowd will lose. Very likely, any progressive candidate will be cheated. Any progressive candidate that gains steam will be cheated, it'll be another Bernie Sanders debacle. You don't go into a mafia organization and reform the organization from within. Power is not relinquished by just political pressure, or you need a complete paradigm change. So they're not even close to a complete paradigm change, because you have Debbie Wasserman Schultz and you have Hillary Clinton, who's not indicted. You have Debbie Wasserman Schultz is still in Congress. They don't care. People don't care. They're like, well, we won this way. We won with Kavanaugh, claiming that something happened in a galaxy far, far away. And then Keith Ellison won, doing the same, actually with evidence of his guilt. So with the Me Too movement they destroyed, the Medicare for All movement they'll eventually destroy, and that'll completely take the wind out of their sails. And Bernie Sanders will have accepted defeat for nothing. This guy, Rick Scott, he fights. Nothing is going to be cheated from him. Nothing is going to be cheated from with Rick Scott because he's going to fight. Exactly. Inga Hicks, exactly. I remember 100% her oscillating like that. And Inga Hicks, you're 100% right. Well, I mean, everything. Does everyone remember when Bernie was pointing and they said that he was sexist because he was pointing and he was shouting? I'm just trying to get my point across. I don't mean to be rude. And I hope my shouting is not indicative of making you feel like less than a human being. Because when I do shout and I do point, that should let everyone know I'm 100% serious. They were like, oh my God, you pointed. You pointed. How dare you point? How dare you point? I swear to you, there were articles written that Bernie Sanders pointed. Who do you think you are, Bernie? Pointing? Pointing and shouting? What's next? What's next? And what an innocent time, like before Harvey Weinstein and like, you know, all of this like insanity. We like know that people have been doing crazy things. What an innocent time it was. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, I wrote literally 100 articles in the Huffington Post, the Hill Salon, and every one of that's why I was like so convinced about the House, because I'm like, these imbeciles they can't do it. They're complete imbeciles. I didn't know that the media would propel them. But I wrote 100. I'm like, Clinton was going to lose. Clinton was going to lose. This is like, not many people know who I am now, but this is like nobody knew who I was. And if you watched me from then until now, thank you. God bless you. But every single day on the left, it's like, Clinton's going to lose. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You're so stupid. It clickbait. Oh my God. A clickbait. Journalism. Oh, caps lock. Oh my God. You're a bad person. You're bad. Now there's like hashtag Bernie would have won. Bernie would have won. Bernie would have won. Yeah, I told you that. 2015. Now, thank God he didn't win, because we would have had. I'd like to present to you my new Secretary of the Treasury, James Comey. Jimmy Comey, James, give me a big hug. And I want to present to you the new Bernie Sanders, Defense Secretary, a wonderful, wonderful man, Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok. This is my new cabinet. It's been chosen for me by my good friend, Hillary Rodham Clinton. So, thank you, the Nature Boy. Yeah. The fraud is insane. But, thank you, Michael. So, yeah, I mean, thank God Trump won, but every single day I was saying in 2015, 2016, in Salon, in the Huffington Post, I was a contributor to The Hill. And I was saying the same thing over again. If you vote for Clinton, Trump's going to win. And so let's continue. President Trump congratulated Scott on Wednesday, on Twitter Sunday, saying that Scott was a great governor and would be an even greater senator in representing the people. Oh, by the way, let's say Matthew Whitaker indicts Clinton. The first thing they're going to say is the Supreme Court has to The Supreme Court has to see if it's constitutional that this guy is allowed under the Vacancies Act. In a 5-4 decision, almost certainly they'll be like, yeah, the president can do what he wants in the executive branch, okay? And it's only for an interim basis, so step off. But I'll just read you Andrew McCarthy, National Review, Matthew Whitaker. Sessions out, Whitaker in. Who's gonna love you when I'm gone? Who's gonna bring you flowers? You don't bring me flowers anymore. Hey, you fired me. After all I've done for you. After every single moment I tried to destroy your life. Thanks a lot, Trumpy. Now you have a big, strong man in Matthew Whitaker. I bet you like his muscles, Trumpy. I didn't know you were into that. I would have worked out. I got the Bowflex at home. I've been trying to do the Bowflex. Looks like those rubber bands, they ain't working. You picked Matthew Whitaker, didn't you? He's not confirmed by the Senate. I was, after I spoke to Sergei Kislyak. They still let me be part of the team to try to destroy you. But I couldn't destroy you. Now you have Whitaker. I know when I'm not wanted. I'm out. Let's see. Okay, so Matthew Whitaker joined the Trump administration as Sessions Chief of Staff in October 2017. The date is relevant. The president has named him as acting Attorney General under the Vacancies Reform Act of 1998. The relevant provisions are codified at sections 3345 and 3346. So if anyone says to you, Matthew Whitaker, it's unconstitutional, be like, oh yeah, the relevant provisions are codified at sections 3345 and 3346 of Title V U.S. Code. There has been some commentary suggesting that because Whitaker was in a job, Chief of Staff, that did not require Senate confirmation, he could not become the acting officer in a position, AG, that calls for Senate confirmation. Not so. The Vacancies Act enables the president to name an acting officer who may serve as such for 212 days, as long as the person named has been working at the agency or department for at least 90 days. In a fairly high-ranking position, Whitaker qualifies. So all of these people who are like, he's not, Gabbers. So he is qualified, absolutely. Gabbers, Fox News should not have called the House 2 hours before the polls closed on the West Coast. Even Mark Levin said that could have cost some elections. Rohrbacher, the issue needs to be addressed by 2020. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gabbers, thank you. I agree with you. You had so much fraud, almost like I'm highly to moderately confident there's a lot of fraud. Edward Antonowitz, what do you think of Ocasio-Cortez? I think that she is going to be very, very disappointed. Very disappointed to see that they're not going to push Medicare for all. They're not going to push $15 minimum wage. They're not going to push a green economy. They're not going to push anything. And then they're going to lose in the House. I've said that before, but they will eventually lose again. I said Clinton was going to lose. I was right, 100%. So that far bigger, whatever prediction than the recent election. But Gabbers, I agree with you. Bill Nelson, he tweeted, well, things turned out differently than we had hoped. Yeah. You only recounted three. There's 3 different times, including the last manual recount. But I by no means feel defeated. That's because I've had the privilege of serving the people of Florida for most of my life. It's been a rewarding journey and very humbling experience. No one could be more blessed. Well, thank you, Tales from the Crypt. Scott's victory also marks the first time in more than a century that Florida has 2 Republican senators representing them in Washington. The state is scheduled to certify results in the race on November 20th. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Oh, this is the Clinton lawyer. This is hilarious. This is the guy who helped purchase the Steele dossier, which I have no idea why people who think Mueller is like a saint, why they don't realize the Steele dossier is a complete garbage document that fueled investigations meant to frame President Trump. So he wrote, I'm incredibly proud of Senator Nelson. Representing him has been an honor. Yeah, I bet it was an honor after you purchased the Steele dossier. During the recount, the margin narrowed. Yeah, but did not close. Thank you to the election official for their diligence and the volunteers and staff who worked to ensure that every lawful vote counted. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. They just found, even though it was like a neck and neck race, they just happened to find 47,000 votes. They just happened to find 47,000 votes that were found post-election. What a coinky dink. In a race that was the poll, even the polls showed were neck and neck. So so there you go. And so Scott, thank you, Scott Boyan. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so very much, Scott. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone in the super chat. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so Trump has the lead in the Senate. They're not going to impeach him because they have a 5-vote lead in the Senate. And no, 6-vote lead. Well, no, Mississippi coming up. I think it's safe to say it'll remain Republican, but conservatives have to do more to keep the red states. Arizona should never have gone to cinema. So they need to learn from those mistakes. That's why I say, like in my last segment, I said, look, you need to find conservative women, like 30 to 40 plus in terms of age, like 30 to 50, or in their 30s. I think Sinema's in her 30s, or how old is Kristen Sinema? She's 42. You just need to find conservative women. And I think that with the climate, with the media is just all in. And when they mean, oh, this is, an era of women in politics, they mean liberal women. You need to find conservative women. This way, the gender politics is turned upside down. Real vote lead equals 3. Yep. Flip 4, they get the majority. Exactly. Atom bomb 31458. Exactly. Absolutely. So that's right. Because if you get 1 Jeff Flake, it becomes 48-51. 2 Jeff Flakes, it becomes 49-48. 49.50. 3 Jeff Flakes, it's flipped. That's with, so at about 315,458, the 3 would be, the 4 Democratic majority would be a 53-47, if I'm not mistaken, correct? So, but Republicans need to adopt that kind. There's a lot of old candidates. I thought that just a lot of old candidates. Thank you. Thank you, Jinji Good Earth. Thank you so very, very much. Have a fantastic, beautiful Sunday evening. Thank you so very, very much. So Twitter is hilarious. It's hilarious. Twitter is really hilarious. Twitter, I can't wait till Twitter no longer exists because it is the worst. It's just a really unhappy. Let's see. It's just a really like Twitter is. Let's see. What's going on? What's going on Twitter? Really nothing much other than the usual. Without Twitter, I don't believe that. Oh, I mean, look, you have Jim Acosta now, who's a saint. This guy's hilarious. Now they have rules and regulations. So the judge ruled against Trump. Now the judge ruled. Judge ruled against Trump because apparently there were no actual regulations that he could fall back on and say, well, he broke these regulations. So they're writing up rules and regulations. You can't act like Jim Acosta, rule number 1. George Papadopoulos, big development. Joseph Mifsud is tied directly to Christopher Steele and Alexander Downer's former chief of staff. He was, okay. There you go. Well, Elizabeth Voss of Disobedient Media already broke this story. George Papadopoulos should actually just acknowledge that. It's unfortunate that he doesn't acknowledge that. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, check out my latest Times of Israel article on Julian Assange. I talk about how Julian Assange fits the description of a very important person in the Jewish religion. So that will be on my Twitter. Follow me at H.A. Goodman Author on Twitter. At H.A. Goodman Author. So if you're on Twitter, please go ahead and follow me there. I stay at 28,700 followers because just the people, the progressives who realize that I'm a Trump voter and the Trump voters who realize I'm a Trump voter cancel each other out. So it just it keeps me at that number forever. All right, so let's see. Stormy is saying that Trump completely destroyed her career. Okie dokie. Not going to get into that. Not going to even touch that. Not going to even touch that. And there's Brett Kavanaugh with actually Sonia Sotomayor stated that we're all a family. So Yeah, I mean, let's look at Trump's Chris Wallace to Trump. You're seen as a beacon of for repression around the world. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. He is not seen as a beacon of repression for repression. He's not. He's not. Obama was not seen as a beacon of hope in Libya or anywhere in the Middle East. But this is what I mean. Even on Fox, you have Chris Wallace pumping this stupid, ridiculous, fabricated, manufactured narrative. Here, Chris Wallace to Trump, you're seen as around the world as a beacon for repression. Yes, and Obama was seen around the world for his wonderful, wonderful decisions in Libya and other countries as a beacon of hope. Tell us more. I think it was Chris Wallace, or I forgot who, but Fox News, they asked him, what's your biggest regret? And Obama's like, I think it was Libya. I would have to say it was Libya. We just didn't follow through. And they were okay with it. Like, oh, wow, you're so presidential. They focus, there's a hyper focus on his personality. Fox News anchor. So, and by the way, 2 years of Trump Russia, completely fabricated. Without Trump Russia, I don't think there's any way they would have had any victories in the midterms. But Trump Russia was consistent. It never ended. It was every day, all consuming on the left. So he has to do something to end Trump Russia and eventually indict Clinton. If he indicts Clinton, he seals victory for 2020 because they have to put the Democrats and the media then have to put all 100% of their energy on defending Clinton. That's just one reason he has to just go where the evidence takes him. But this is Fox News anchor Chris Wallace told President Trump that he is viewed as a beacon for oppression around the world. How do you know this? Wallace made the statement to Trump while conducting a sit-down interview. No president has liked his press coverage. Nobody called it the enemy of the American people. Wallace is the press was not. He never said the press was the enemy of the American people. By the way, Wallace doesn't care about Julian Assange, who is a publisher who published information that the Wall Street Journal published back in the day with the Pentagon Papers and Daniel Ellsberg. The fake news is the enemy. It's fake. It's phony. Trump replied. Before it's true, it is fake news. But the thing is, also, even on that front, Trump is not 100% winning. He can't just say fake news is the enemy. He has to indict Clinton and then have them defend her. And then the real news could actually just show how many crimes she's actually committed. But see, the thing is, if he doesn't indict Clinton, he will be no better than Bernie Sanders. And I say this with all due respect to everyone. I'm voting for Trump in 2020, even if Bernie Sanders is nominated, which he won't be. But anyone close to Bernie will be cheated again. But Wallace pushed Trump on the topic. See, that leaders in authoritarian countries like Russia, China, Venezuela now repress media using your words. No, they don't. No, they've repressed media before Trump. After Trump said he can't speak for other countries, Wallace stated that you're seen around the world as a beacon for repression, as if CNN of all places, CNN went after Bernie before going after Trump. This is only to do with a certain elite I'm with her crowd that they want their cake. They want to have their cake and they want to eat it too. Australian news, Aussie J, we should believe it. Oh, no, Dems don't like their own medicine. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't like their own medicine. And that's the thing. They get away with that. They get away with that. They completely get away with that. The airing of his interview with Wallace came only. The media gets away with everything. The media gets away with everything. It just, Trump needs to find a way to circumvent the media bias. And indicting Clinton, which is what Loretta Lynch should have done, will seal the deal for 2020. Because then they won't even focus on gun control. They'll focus all on trying to impeach Trump as revenge, and they'll fall into a trap. See, Trump has to kind of ensnare Democrats in their own hatred of him. He's not doing that. Hopefully he does something grandiose January, February, March of next year. Because January of 2017, you had Jeff Sessions, and you had you had information that the DOJ was looking into Clinton's emails, and the FBI had a Clinton Foundation probe. So that was huge. That was absolutely enormous. Absolutely enormous. I want to just show you this. Secrets, Beto Cruz. I want to see. Very difficult here. I want to see what so Ted Cruz spent in Texas almost $34 million. $33,896,025. Beto O'Rourke spent $59,162,000. Okay, let's look at Sinema and McSally. Okay, closer, but McSally was outspent by $6 million, and she lost after a recount. So, I mean, they should have focused. That the RNC should have given McSally a lot more money, and earlier on. You can't. This is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking at Open Secrets right now, AKA. I'm looking at Open Secrets right now. Kristen Sinema spent almost $20 million. Okay. Okay, so Martha McSally spent $13,557,000. So you're looking at over $6 million. You can't be outspent. That's what I'm trying to tell the Republican. I'm trying to tell Trump, you cannot be outspent by even $6 million. You can't be outspent by $6 million. And then here, he was outspent by $30 million. Ted Cruz outspent Beto O'Rourke by close to $30 million. Close to $30 million, ladies and gentlemen. How can you, and he's still, he still won, but it was a lot closer than expected. But how you cannot go into, in 2020, you have to raise just as much, because Trump was outspent 2-1. And if he's outspent 2-1, I don't believe he'll win. He cannot be outspent 2-1. He has to find a way to outspend the Democrats to seal the deal. But this is the dumb, oh well, you're seen as a beacon. All of these like nebulous, overreaching, overarching statements. A beacon of repression. How do you quantify that? It is all opinion. So here, more native-born Texans voted for Democrat Representative Beto O'Rourke than incumbent Ted Cruz. Yeah, O'Rourke outspent him by $30 million. Do you think that had anything to do with it? While Cruz won re-election by roughly 2.5 percentage points, O'Rourke beat Cruz by 3 percentage points among those born in Texas. Okay, well, that should show that. Oh, okay, well, yeah, that he appeals to people who were born out of the country or born in other states. In contrast, 57% of those respondents who said they moved to the state voted for Cruz, compared to, because they probably moved from California, other places where they know Beto O'Rourke is full of Bandini. This is a guy who was charged with drunk driving, and Cruz barely wins. Now, granted, he was outspent $30 million, but this is what I'm trying to say. You cannot be outspent. Do better at fundraising. You got to do better at fundraising if you're the Republican Party. You got to do better at also you got to do better at communicating success. Trump is not very good at communicating success. The propaganda. I just think the propaganda conflict is being lost by Dylan Robinson. Thank you. Good Bernie impression. Thank you. Medicare for all. Trump would have you believe that Medicare for all is not affordable. Look at Denmark. Look at Switzerland. Look at small European countries. Samuel Stafford. Finally, very good news, HA. Samuel, thank you so very much for your support. Samuel Stafford, thank you for your support. Bizarro World, Bernie Sanders, thanks you. He wants you to know that Medicare for all will never be taken out of the House of Representatives because Nancy Pelosi is going to make sure that all my voters were cheated as usual. Samuel Stafford. Thank you so very, very, very much, Samuel. Thank you. Thank you as always. Thank you. I just we got a big victory because Rick Scott doesn't he doesn't do the whole Bernie Sanders, oh, I lost. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. You know what one of the best feelings in the world is? Tweeting an IDF, an Israeli Defense Force tweet, knowing that people on the left who debated me or used to follow me, their heads are just, oh my God, what are you doing? Because if you look at the conflict from both sides, you see that it's not only one side. For example, I want a Palestinian state. I want a Palestinian state. But it's not. But I also, understand that I also care about Israel and I want Israel to succeed and prosper. Unlike the left and Democrats who, That is on Twitter, picture of me. Look at me, HA. Medicare for all. When the Messiah comes, you'll get a bill. When the Messiah comes. Sherilyn Monroe, I was. Sherilyn, but you know what? I am so horrible at marketing. I was like one of the first walkaways, Sherilyn Monroe, but instead it was called just Crazy Person. So I didn't like they didn't know that like there was no walkaway. It's like it's like wearing fashion before it's in vogue. They're like, what are you doing? I was the first this, the first that, first punk rocker. The first of anything is not really it isn't warmly received, to tell you the truth. Like, I can't believe this. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe this. All 817 people and Samuel Stafford. Thank you again. There's on YouTube, there is it has to be, it's like a 1970s, mid to late 70s public access interviews, like a public access station interview of the Ramones, where I heard one young person call up. It was one of those call-up shows, and he was like, I don't really like your music. And this is the Ramones, like the kings of like punk rock, the originators, one of the originators. So they were ahead of their time. But it's just, there's like a million different, you can look at a whole bunch of people, but I'm not saying I'm like so great, I'm ahead of my time. But I remember that when I did walk away, let's just say it wasn't received very warmly. Hit piece after hit piece by all the same publications that now don't want Hillary Clinton to run. Ladies and gentlemen, Samuel Stafford, to my super chat, to everyone watching, 800 people plus. Thank you so very much. God bless. I'll be back later on this evening, and we're going to have a great week this week. I think this week is going to be awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless. I will see you later this evening. And just thank you for everything. Thank you for watching.